So welcome back. There was some technical snag in between. Sorry for the delay. So we were dealing with related to our transducers, right? So in that we were explaining about the concept of electrical transducer.
Hours apart practice, I'm walking off the floor like drenched, sweat, tired. And here comes Michael, like pushing me back on the floor, wanting to play a little one-on-one, wanting to see where his game was. I was better than he was for about
Hello?
2 weeks. He wanted to learn, he wanted to grow quickly. From month to month, from game to game. He was soaking up information.
Hello,
Once
please
he got
mute your mics. Who is this?
added it to the raw talent he already had. It was really explosive to see.
Guys.
Please mute your mics, please.
By the time we got to the national championship game, he was a great player.
Hello.
44th NCAA Division I men's basketball team.
Please mute your
Largest
mics.
crowd ever for a basketball game and an electric atmosphere.
Getting out there in front of 60-some-thousand people, I was young, but I had no time to be nervous. We had two great teams going against each other who were very well coached. Both teams were equally matched.
Please mute your mics.
Michael had some big key buckets and had some big shots.
So we were dealing related to the electrical transducer elements, right? I told please mute your mics. Everyone mute your mics. Type your name and USA number in the chat room. So we dealt about what do you mean by electrical transducer element. So which converts the displacement into the required electrical current or the voltage. So this is the main application of using electrical transducers. So these transducers might be of different categories. It could be of resistive type, inductive type or capacitive type of electrical transducer elements. So you have certain classification under each categories of electrical transducer elements. So before going into it exactly, you should be knowing what are the main advantages of these electrical transducers, which mainly convert it into the electrical signal or the voltage as per the requirement. So the advantages here are, in comparison to mechanical transducer elements, these are in compact in size, right? So it is small and compact. Second is, it is the frictional and the inertial effect are almost reduced in comparison to that of mechanical transducers. And the third advantage here is it can remotely record the data. It's not necessary always to show the output, the display, or it can remotely record the required readings. And also controlling is possible remotely. So which is one of the added advantage to the electrical transducers. And the fourth one is the amplification of the signal. It can do it in a well way, and even the attenuation, reduction of the force or reducing the amount of anything as per the requirement. So it can enhance and reduce the criteria as per the requirement. So this is one of the added advantage. And the amount of power consumed is less in case of electrical transducer elements. And the last advantage here is the signal output could be easily processed and transmitted to any other device which is being needed. So these are the plus points of all the electrical transducers, either if it is resistive type, inductive or capacitive type of transducers. So this is the main usage of the electrical transducer elements and how it converts the displacement into the required voltage or the current as an output signal. So now we are starting up with what is resistive transducers. So resistive transducers is nothing but it shows resistance for the flow of electrical current through it depending upon which resistive element or the material you are using. So the equation R is equal to L by A is always adherable and followed in case of resistive transducer. So here R stands for resistivity of the material. The unit will be always in terms of ohm centimeter. So the length L will be the length of the conductor through which you are making to pass through the electric material, and A will be the cross sectional area. So the unit for the cross sectional area will be centimeter square, what they follow. So with the help of this equation we can find out what is the resistivity or the resistance induced for the flow of current through an conductive material per cross section of the given unit area. So this is about the concept of resistive transducers. So in the next slides we can see the classifications of the resistive materials. Okay, so the first one here is the sliding contact device. So it is called a sliding contact resistive transducer. Everyone please mute your mic, please. Please mute the mic. So what happens in case of sliding contact device? So here it mainly converts a mechanical displacement which is given as an input to either the current or the voltage as an output. So this is the main common conversion in all electrical transducer elements. So but how it is being achieved? It will be having an effective length of the conductor which shows certain resistance for the flow of the electric current. So above that you will be having an gliding rod on which the slide will be mounted. So this slide will move on this resistance element or the conductor. So the movement of this slide will deliver you the linear displacement measurement. Okay, so one will be the input and the other one will be the output end. So through the inputs you will receive the input signal of the displacement data, and through the output you will be obtaining either the electrical current as an output or an voltage based on the resistivity given by the conducting material for the movement of the displacement and converting it into the electrical current or the voltage. So this is how an sliding contact device works in a category of resistive transducer. The same thing has been given here. So the slide will give you the measure of the linear displacement it has been traveling. Okay, since it is sensing the displacements, so it can relatively convert the large amount of displacement into the current or the voltage output. It mainly depends upon the length of the conductive material you are using. So based on the length of the conductive material, the amount of input signal in the form of displacement could be traced out and convert that displacement into the measurable electrical or the voltage signal. So this is generated by the sliding of the slide on the conductive material which measures the displacement signal into the voltage or electrical output. So next type of resistive transducer is potentiometers. So what happens in case of potentiometers? Even in potentiometer, you can find an resistance wire here, which is nothing but wrapping a resistance wire around a card. So you'll be having a card on which the resisting material made up of some wire will be embedded on it. So you will be having a slide here. So the angular displacement of the slide will provide you the angular displacement, or the measure of the angular displacement will be done. What will happen? So here you will be having an input signal and here you will be having an output signal. So through the input signal the displacement will be sensed. So when this displacement sensed is being transmitted through the resistance wire, which is a conductive material, so the variation in the wire what you obtain angularly will be measured. Okay, so this angular displacement later will be converted into the output in the form of current or the voltage. So in between you will be having an intermediate stage, what we call it as a modifier, which converts the displacement signal into the readable voltage or the control or the electrical current output signal. So this is about angular motion potentiometer. In previously you can get only linear displacements, whereas potentiometer will serve you in getting angular displacement. So this is the difference between the sliding contact device of resistive transducer and potentiometer. One is for linear and other one is for angular displacement conversion. And then you should know what you mean by inductance, because you have different categories. It could be resistive, it could be inductive, or it could be capacitive. So now we are going for the second one, which is called as inductance based electrical transducers. So what is the main property of an inductance? So what does inductance does? So inductance is a property in any electrical circuit, so where you have a chance of converting the flow of current either through a conductive material or a semiconductor, so that it induces an electromotive force, which is also called in short as EMF. Okay, so that opposes the change in the current. So what is meant by EMF? It is electromotive force which opposes for the change in the flow of current in a conductive material or a semiconductor material. Similar to the type of resistance for the flow of electricity in a conductive material or a semiconductor material, this is also resistance for the change in the flow. The flow of current could be increased or decreased. So you're providing an opposing nature for the change in the existing amount of current flowing through it. It's nothing but our electromotive force, what we call it as EMF, which basically come across in any electrical circuit which has been designed. So in electrical circuits, any electrical current I produces a magnetic field and hence generates a total magnetic flux, which is represented by the letter phi, okay, in a circuit, because you cannot consistently make to flow the electrical current of same value throughout. There will be variations. So for every variation it will generate a magnetical field which generates total magnetic flux. Okay, so this magnetic flux, according to Lenz's law, tends to oppose the change in the flux by generating a voltage. So the amount of magnetic flux generated will oppose the change in that magnetic flux by inducing some voltage in it or generating a voltage in it. So that is called to be as rate of change in the current. So this variation or this change in the flow of current is nothing but our electromotive force. So finally, after knowing the concept what happens in an electrical circuit with respect to the resistance for the flow or change in the current, now you should know the meaning for inductance. It is nothing but the ratio of the magnetic flux to the current is called as self-inductance. So this is the actual current which is flowing through the circuit. So the variation in the current is opposed, and based on that difference some amount of voltage will be generated. So that is nothing but the magnetic flux. So the ratio of the magnetic flux to the current is called as the self-inductance, or it could be in general termed to be as inductance of an circuit. So you should first understand what you mean by resistivity, and then you should understand what you mean by inductance. Okay, so after understanding what you mean by inductance, now you should know the difference between inductance and reluctance. What happens in case of inductance and what happens in case of reluctance. So in mutual inductance, when the varying flux field from one coil or circuit element induces an EMF in a neighboring coil or in circuit element, that effect is called as a mutual inductance. Okay, so you'll be having one circuit element, and in neighboring you might be having another circuit or any other coil. So the variation in the magnetic flux which is generated in one circuit will affect the coil or the circuit which is in neighboring, which is in neighbor to it, and it helps in resulting in the formation of EMF or inducing EMF. So, and this is called as mutual inductance. So, the variation in the flux in one coil will affect the neighboring circuit or the other coil by inducing an EMF in it. So, this nature or this effect is called to be as our mutual inductance. And next is magnetic reluctance. So what happens here? So magnetic reluctance or the magnetic resistance. One thing you have to understand, the word reluctance and the resistance is one and the same. The resistance, if with respect to the current in a conductor, is the resistance offered by the material for the flow of electric current through it. Similarly, magnetic resistance or the magnetic reluctance is the opposition given for the flow of magnetic field or the electric field in the given electrical circuit. Okay, so it is likeness to the way of an electric field which causes an electric current to flow the path at least resistance. Means magnetic reluctance also shows the path with which it can help to flow the magnetic field or the flux with the least resistance, similar to that of our electrical current. So you can say in vice versa, a magnetic field causes magnetic flux to follow the path at least magnetic reluctance. So reluctance is nothing but the resistance. How it offers least resistance for the flow of current. Similarly, it will offer least reluctance for the flow of magnetic flux through the material. Only thing is here we are changing instead of electric field to that of the magnetic flux. Since it is magnetic flux, we are replacing the word resistance by the word reluctance. Okay, so this is what you have to understand, the difference between the inductance and the reluctance. Inductance will allow the flow for the current, and any variation in the current, it induces an EMF in the circuit element, whereas reluctance will provide the least resistance for the flow of either electrical field or the magnetic flux in an electrical circuit. So this is the difference between the inductance and reluctance, what you have to understand. Let me take a screenshot of the attendance. If anyone have not written your name in the chat room, kindly do type it. Yeah, so we'll go back to inductance and reluctance. So I hope everyone are clear about the difference. So next, so now under inductance we have different types of transducers. So first is variable self-inductance transducer. So what happens in it? So here in variable self-inductance transducer, you will be using a single coil. So a single coil will be used as a transducer element. So the mechanical input changes the premise of the flux path generated by the coil. So you will be having an armature movement here. So here you will be having a measuring meter and an exciter where you will be having a single coil wounded on the given bar or the rod. Okay, so the displacement, the mechanical input which is given in the form of displacement will be converted into the flux which is which will be made to pass through the coil, and the flux which is being generated will be stored in the output signal. Okay, so it is just for single coil. Similarly, we have for the variable self-inductance. So we'll come to that later. First you understand variable self-inductance related to the single coil, where this single coil will be used as a transducer element. It will be having a meter which measures the reading and an exciter which excites the coil when the displacement is made to pass through it. So due to the variation, the output signal will measure in the form of voltage or the current. So there will be a specific air gap between the armature movement what you are getting with the bar associated in the single coil. So this is about self-inductance arrangement used in a single coil. Okay, so this change can be measured by a suitable circuit. So if you have a suitable circuit, then it indicates the value of the input, and the flux path which is generated can also be changed with the help of the air gap. So the flux path which has been generating should be varied, can be varied with the help of air gap what you have with respect to the armature movement. So next is the two coil arrangement. So what happens in two coil? The two coil arrangement as shown in figure is a single coil with a center tap. Okay, so here you can see this is a single coil what you have on a material which is non-magnetic. Since it induces the flux, the material or the rod what you use should not be a conductive material, and it should be not a magnetic material also. Okay, so it will be something which is non-magnetic material. So on that you will be having a single coil which has been wound, but along with that you will be having a center tap. So what do you mean by center tap? Is a single coil with a center tap, right? So here you will be having a magnetic material and a surface here in which you have an you will be having a gap in between with the material which has been bonded on the magnetic non-magnetic material. So on that the single coil wire will be wounded. So at the center you will be having a core of magnetic material which has been placed. Since you are having a magnetic material here, you cannot use a magnetic material for the supporting rod what you are using. So the supporting rod will be a non-magnetic material, and at the center you will be having a core of magnetic material on which this single coil will be embedded. Okay, so the movement of the core alters the relative inductance in the coil. So due to the movement of the core on the non-magnetic material, it will result in changing the inductance on this single coil. So this change in variation in the bridge will result in getting the required output. So this is used as a secondary transducer mainly for pressure measurements. So this is just the difference. Here you didn't have an center tap in which a magnetic material was embedded, and here it is not specific that it should be a non-magnetic material, but here it should be a non-magnetic material with a core of magnetic material at the center. So due to the variation, due to the rotation of the core magnetic material, there will be always change in the magnetic flux associated in the coil, and this variation is used by the secondary transducer to measure the pressure measurements. Okay, so this is applicable for determining the variation in the pressure when this self-inductance arrangement is used as a secondary transducer. So next you have a third method, which is variable mutual inductance. So here you will be having two coils, 1 and 2. So in this type, the flux from a power coil is coupled to a pickup coil. So you will be having one called power coil, and you will be having one coil called as a pickup coil. So the power which has been induced in the power coil due to the excitation of the given input signal will be transmitted to the pickup coil. So this is nothing but the stage 2 transducer. So this is the stage 1. So it helps in converting the sensed physical quantity as an input into the required output. So this input information in the form of armature displacement changes the coupling between the coils due to the movement of the armature. So the air gap between the core and the armature governs the degree of coupling. So the air gap movement which is provided by the armature, right, and the core will govern the degree of coupling associated with the power coil 1 and the pickup coil 2. So this is stage 1 and stage 2, so which induces a coupling effect between these two based on the air gap associated with the help of the armature movement. So it also depends upon the excitation caused due to the provided input signal for the power coil. So this is how an variable mutual inductance transducer element works, which is associated with two coils. So this was about variable mutual inductance. So next you have variable reluctance transducer. Until now we were studying about the inductance. You know the difference between inductance and the reluctance. Inductance measures the variation in the EMF induced, the change in magnetic flux, right? So by means of single coil, a coil with the core magnetic material, or with the help of two coils where the coupling effect comes into picture. But the reluctance is showing the least resistance for the transfer of magnetic flux through an electric circuit. So how this will be used in variable reluctance transducer, you have to understand. So a variable reluctance transducer are used for dynamic applications. Hope you remember we studied the static characteristics as well as the dynamic characteristics, which is static with respect to time, and in dynamic characteristics the units what we measure varies with respect to the time. So these variable reluctance transducers are mainly used for dynamic applications, in which field where the flux lines supplied by a permanent magnet are cut by the turns of the coil. So when you have a permanent magnet and the coil bounded to it, so the magnetic flux which has been generated by the permanent magnet will be cut due to the turns of the coil. So this, it will be cut because you'll be having n number of bounds of the coil. It has to round through every coil, and due to the movement in the turned coil surface, there will be some resistivity for the movement of the magnetic flux. So that is referred by the word cut. So the magnet are cut due to the turn